sets is just going to check back on such a board because any 9 or any ace beats him, but the straight he'll call anyway. So the best thing you can do in this scenario, in my opinion, is just to shove your remaining chips in. So welcome to the first hand analysis of our stream day 1 bankroll challenge. We will be having a look at a hand that occurred during the stream, and I will show you how I'm going to analyze this hand, or what my thoughts are when analyzing certain hands like this. So let's jump right into the action. We have ace king suited in UTG. It doesn't get earlier than that unless we had a big blind or another player here, and then we would be here. But that's yeah, so it's pretty early position on this table. Now we opened standard around 2.5 big blinds, and we have villain here who free bets us, and that he does pretty large. So I just want to stop here, like first think about what he does that with. Now if you look at us, we haven't been really like handling out of proportion on this table. So I mean, our raising and calling is pretty smooth or tight so far, so we haven't been out of line. Villain hasn't been out of line as well. He has mainly just been calling a lot. But especially, like, I don't want to be really focused on the stats here, but really we are in a really early position and we get free bet, and he does that big. So which range does he do that with? I think he does that with a pretty tight range. He does that, in my opinion, with around jacks plus ace king offsuit and ace king suited. He maybe could do that with ace queen suited and ace queen offsuit if he really like doesn't know much about the hand strength. So that's also a possibility. And he could maybe do that also with tens, but I think mainly his range will be tight in that spot. So it folds back to us, and with the playability of ace king suited, I'd rather put a call in here and play it cautiously. His range is anyway pretty tight, like his free bet range, and also he does that pretty big, so I would rather, yeah, just call and then play against his range. I could maybe see merits for re-raising with a hand such as ace king offsuit, but against such a tight range where we have no reads on opponents that he does that light, I would really like to play this more cautiously. So we make the call, and we get this really nice board, apparently, like king of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, and queen of spades. Now I remember when I played this on stream, I said that I like this board, but if you really think about it, like what his range is, it's a pretty bad board. So the reason for that is he may have aces, first of all, which is a bit more unlikely because we have the ace of spades in our hand. And everything else, like the kings he would free bet, the queens that he free bet, now have a set, or also tens have a set. And the only thing that we really beat are jacks, and we chop with other ace kings. So if you really look at his range, it's not that of a great flop for us. So what you also notice is when you look at the stacks, the stack to pot ratio is basically 2. So I remember on stream that I was not comfortable with this sizing, so I'd rather play it slow. Although we have top pair, I didn't want to bet and then get raised into and eventually have to even fold or call it off and then be behind. So I checked here, and villain decided to check back. Now on this board, I would expect villain to bet his overpairs, bet his top pairs, and also his sets, and he doesn't have much that he should check here. back with. Like he might occasionally trap with sets if the stack to pot ratio was maybe a bit like lower, like 1. But on this board, I would expect like the player pool to majorly just get it in with the good hands, and that's something that he did not do, apparently. Now, what I like to do when I analyze these hands, I like to put them into Flopzilla. For those of you that don't know it, just to quickly summarize, we put the range of the villain into this overview. We select the flop that's currently on the board. We put in the cards here that we have, and now we filter out according to the actions of the villain what he does that with. So, for example, if we now on the flop have villain check back and we don't think he has sets or overpairs, we can just unselect them, or like we filter out the things that we think he has, like a middle pair or some like a weak pair such as jacks, and we can just press this filter button and it now changes his range and only selects those that are currently active. So as you can see now, we have his entire range, and we can now press the filter and it only selects the selection we've made here. Notice how it displays also the equity we have against this range. So without the filter we have around 50%, and turning the filter on we have around 75 or 74% here. Now that's what I thought he would do. So looking at it, we should be in pretty good shape. And now you can select the next card that hits. So if we continue, he checks back. Now we have the ace of spades here. And that already makes me a lot more comfortable with this hand, because we now also have like a flush draw turn. And if he has a kind of set that is slow played, or if we have if he has another ace king, we have a lot more equity to beat that, and that's really neat. Yeah. So now that the flush draw comes in for us and villain has checked on the flop, what I put him on, as said, mostly flush draws, middling pairs, open-ended straight draws with the jacks, and I like to bet really big here. So as you can see, he has more weak pairs than he does have middle pairs, and with my assumption that he is a call heavy person, which you can also see that he so far over 10 hands has liked to call a few times, I would expect him to like calling with his jacks. Now I think we could maybe go a bit smaller, maybe like 400 or something, or 450, to not only keep his flush draws in, but also keep his potential ace queens in, so we get the maximum value out of his range. Now we bet big, villain decides to call, and even if he slow played a set at this point, I think he would have raised it in with his like sets or better, but he didn't. So I still think we are pretty correct to assume that his range is drawing. Now what's really interesting here, with the jack of hearts coming in, is we obviously make the straight, like the nut, we have the nuts basically. And what's really interesting in this spot is you normally don't have that, but whatever kind of missed draws he has, or he had, have now turned into a straight. So normally if you have, because he only had like ace queens or ace queen suited, like ace queens as a middling pair and ace queen suited as a flush draw, because the other things he should have, like the ace king suited flush draw is not even available because the king of diamonds is already on the board. But everything now from his draws has become a straight, so to say, and you rarely have that, I would like to think, or you never have that basically, because ranges are a bit wider than just this tight 3-bet range that happens, early position versus early position. So if he was a bit more aggressive player, I think in game what I would have done is checked this back to him to let him bluff with his missed flush draws, but those are not even in his range anymore. So he only has turned sets with our assumption from before and straights, and the sets is just going to check back on such a board because any 9 or any ace beats him, but the straight he'll call anyway. So the best thing you can do in this scenario, in my opinion, is just to shove your remaining chips in, and as he's already sort of priced in, because afterwards if he bets like he would have to call like 720, 2420, that would be like 3143. Let me write that down. This is the way to calculate the equity that you have. You divide the bet size you have to call by the entire pot plus the bet size that you're calling. And if we go into our dear calculator here, we can see that he has around like 23% equity, and that's something that his sets have basically as against our range, I would expect, and I'd also think he'd just call it off, especially with him being more call happy. Now what's also interesting to know is, let's say you would have an opponent that is capable to check back sets on this board, which I don't think, but we're still gonna check how that would look. Just remove these cards here. So let's assume he also has sets in his range here. And we go to the turn, and now the 8 hits. And now let's say we bet with ace king suited with our flush draw or a straight draw with a top pair. We bet into him and he raises on top all in. Like, I think he would only do that with his sets. If he was like a maniac, maybe, or I'm not sure if you would do that also with your strongest flush draws. Like, let's say he would just do that with sets. As you can see down here, we still have 25% equity with our hand against any sets on this type of board. So if we put that into our calculator again, because we still have to calculate our bet as well, and that makes around 3143 again. And if we calculate that, we have around 23% equity. And 23% equity is like less than the equity that we have. So we are getting better odds than our normal equity suggests, so we should call in that case. And that's also really neat to know, that in that case, even if he would slow play a set, we just shove on top over him, it would still be a profitable play. So I hope you like my analysis. If you have any feedback for the video in general or my analysis, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.